Welcome to ESPN Cricinfo's The Lineup. This show used to be known as The Buzz, but we've changed the name because there was no buzz around the show. So now we picked a different name and it's called The Lineup.
So this will change everything.
This is going to change everything about this show. Okay?
I heard this will change every week.
It's like
that may also happen.
It's completely different also. It's like not like Kings 11 Punjab and
Yeah, it's a totally new name. And the theme of this show is basically we have a bunch of millennial uncles who try to sound like chatty Gen Z brats. And then in the comments, the Gen Z brats tell us that the only tint of green we deserve is the color of the puke emoji. Okay, everybody got that?
I didn't get
Talking
any
about
of
your
that.
shirt or?
I apologize for my uncle over here.
On this episode, we are now going to name India's best Test 11 of the 21st century.
Okay.
And this includes players who played in the 90s as well, but who played at least 30 tests in this century. And I know it's an 11, but we're actually going to pick 12 because we're picking a side for all conditions. So this will give us different combinations.
So when you say that 30 tests since 2000,
Yes.
are we looking at how those players played in the time?
Yes, of course.
So if you pick an Anil Kumble or you pick a player who had a large
You cannot
chunk
count
of
his.
career,
You cannot count anything he's done in the 90s. So Tendulkar's 100 at Perth is not what will qualify him for this 11, but he's made it anyway.
Kumble's
So it's
10
okay.
is out.
He scored a few more, yeah.
He scored a few more runs. Anyway, the good news for our producers is that we've actually agreed on 8 of the 12 names. The bad news is that one of those names that is missing is MS Dhoni. So we may have to geo-target this video so that it only appears in about 5% of the country. Anyway, let's start. So we've got our batting lineup. We have 4 names that we've all gone for at different positions, but Sehwag, Dravid, Tendulkar, Kohli. We are missing a second opener. So I'll let Vishal go first with his pick of second opener.
I'll go with Rohit Sharma.
wow.
A little bit of recency bias.
This is test cricket, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that joke didn't land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma over, I'm guessing, no need to guess, but Rohit Sharma, one, because of recency bias, two, slightly better average than Gautam Gambhir, who some of you will probably pick. A slightly more aggressive batting as well. And why not have a captaincy option as well? Because we haven't marked a captain yet.
Wow, doesn't seem
That's
like
true.
too many contenders.
Just to make things interesting in the Indian dressing room, I'll make a case for Gautam Gambhir. So my reason for Gambhir, I'm not looking too much at numbers, but just from memory, India were really struggling with that opening spot before he made it his own, right? We had wicket-keepers coming in there, Parthiv Patel,
He
Deepdas
certainly
Gupta.
played his part in
And then-
stabilizing a top order.
No, and then India rose to number 1 in the world for the first time in Test cricket, and Gambhir played a big role in that. That Napier Test 2009, which he saved. Wellington, he almost actually won India the Test, and he had a very good knock, I think, in Cape Town. In both innings, he scored 50s, saved that Test where India drew in South Africa.
Yeah.
So
So it's interesting. He peaked at that time. India reached number 1. But if you look at his overall Test career, 2008 and 2009, he averages close to 80. In 7 years after that, he averages less than 30 in a span of 31 Tests, which is more than half his career.
And England was a big part of that.
Yes.
For that reason.
So
So
you're
when you
not-
said
you're not
all
picking
conditions,
yeah.
Who do you pick then, if not Gambhir?
I am going a little left of field. I have Cheteshwar Pujara as my opener.
As an opener,
Yes, because it's an argument that could hold true potentially for both Pujara and Dravid. I wanted to have as many of India's best batters of the last 20 years here, and there is no opener who to me offers more than what Pujara does along with that middle order. Pujara, it's not like he's completely alien to it. He has batted, what was it? I think he had about 9 or 10 innings as opener, including a series deciding century in Colombo.
Yeah,
And
Sri
even
Lanka.
not counting that, there are enough instances where Pujara comes out and does the role of an opener. So I have him.
I was very keen to have both Kohli and Laxman in my team.
yeah,
And
same.
therefore, for me, the match-winning impact they had in the middle order. So for the same kind of line of thinking, I therefore, unfortunately, as much as I like him, feel like Pujara will miss out here. I would have Dravid opening, and I would have both Kohli and Laxman in my top 6 along with Tendulkar. Pujara's great value came in Australia.
Yeah.
Unprecedented contribution and great result. But I think we've got 5, if not 6 players that have formidable records in Australia. And then it just became about the overall package.
But
that's all.
that puts
Who's number 3 for you?
The 3 is an interesting one. In my team that I sent Dustin, I put Tendulkar at 3. I put the most capable batter to bat 3. And I felt like for a large part of his career, Tendulkar should have batted 3. It never happened, and it's all moot right now. But number 4 is almost pigeonholed for your marquee player, whether it's a Virat Kohli or a Tendulkar. If for whatever reason in this team we're not able to get Tendulkar to buy into the idea of batting 3, then Laxman goes to 3.
Laxman, you're thinking of obviously Eden, Mohali. Then actually that Durban Test might have been his best ever knock, where he got like 96 out of 220 something, won India that test. But then
which is why,
Pujara,
because I didn't like the argument, and I don't think Kohli was technically as sound as Tendulkar, which is why Kohli will stay 4 at the highest. Therefore, in my team, everything just moved up here. Dravid open, Tendulkar 3, Kohli 4.
but I guess the argument for Pujara is that one series, 2018-19 Australia, is possibly India's best achievement of
100%.
this entire century. And he's the guy who won India that series.
Yeah, but it's very hard to compare eras in
are-
that sense, right?
So
Yeah, fair.
So-
if we are marking by India's best achievements, there are 3, and all 3 against Australia, and all 3 involve these 2 players. There's 2001 with Laxman.
Yeah.
Pujara has 2 series.
The batters should be slotted in their best positions, where they have that kind of body of work.
Correct.
So why are you moving around so much when if you move one position, it's still fine. If you're moving 2, 3, it's not really
then at
your
least-
So
best
essentially,
test 11.
it's a one-position argument. I get it when it's a number 4 moving to open, the case with Steve Smith.
Yeah.
But with both Dravid or Pujara, whoever, if we pick, them opening is not far too different from what they did for large parts of their career.
But Dravid opening and having Laxman in the middle order then means everyone kind of moving one up.
Yeah.
Whereas if we just do Pujara as opener, then that at least keeps 3, 4, 5.
Like I said,
stable.
I worked a different logic. I wanted both Kohli and Laxman, and the only way to do that was Dravid opening and Tendulkar batting 3, which I felt when I closed my eyes, I said that's not the worst thing. If Tendulkar wants to bat 4, he just has to have a word with the guys around him and they'll listen. So
Yeah.
he can do
But
that.
okay, anyway, I'm inclined now to go with Pujara opening just because I feel like it keeps everything else stable. And I also just think Pujara's record, I mean, it does justify a place in this team.
Just
I know
know that
Laxman's also
Pujara's
does.
inclusion will mean Laxman's exclusion.
That is true.
So you can't look at it
Yeah.
with one and not the other. And therefore,
So
I
step
wanted
1 of this selection is both of you deciding one between Pujara and Laxman.
Is it only for the opening slot?
Yeah.
Then
I mean, if you pick one, the other goes out.
Yeah, I'll pick Laxman.
So
Okay. So now we have 2 Pujaras and 2 Laxmans.
No, but as I told you, I want Laxman in my team, and we still haven't picked a keeper in this team. And Pant stroke Dhoni will come into that. So you only have one option, and I'm going for Laxman there because he's won us. I believe he won India more games, or he had a role to play in India winning winning or saving way too many games. So for
yeah,
me,
I'm happy with that.
Okay, fine. So we're agreeing then to go
So
with
then Dravid
Dravid
opens.
opening and then, okay, so we've got to now move Dravid up one.
and again Pujara, well done, everything amazing, but
So
please
wait,
come
we're
back.
going Dravid opening. And now just for the purposes of this, I'm going to put Laxman at 3.
yeah, that's
Although
fine.
the middle order is fluid
Yeah,
and
I agree.
can change. Okay. Now we come to number 6, where it's Mr. MS Dhoni versus Rishabh Pant. Who's picked Dhoni? Who's picked Pant?
Pant.
I also went with Pant, but Vishal has picked Dhoni. So
You
let's
also thank me that I didn't pick Pant, otherwise this discussion would have been over.
And we'd have no views.
So, of course, when it comes to batting, I won't say it's obvious, but it's in favor of Pant more than Dhoni. So I went with 2 other factors. One is wicket keeping. I think Dhoni has done better work there, even in test matches, which largely is underrated now because of what all he did in white ball formats. The other thing is captaincy. What Dhoni can offer there, obviously no other wicketkeeper can. Among the people we are discussing, DRS, the way he played a major role in that when it picked up after 2008.
In the batting, I feel Pant, in a smaller sample, there's already enough of a gulf, a similar sized gulf in Pant's batting and his impact in Test cricket vis-a-vis
So
what
do-
Dhoni did. But the captaincy point to me doesn't really hold because I think India's best Test captain is already part of this lineup.
So I mean, if you compare
Tendulkar.
the formats,
No, you mean like Dravid.
I think Dhoni would be the first one to agree that Test cricket was far from his favorite format, and his captaincy record also is reflective of that. So I don't think the way he also quit Test cricket was, you could sense that if you had to pick the 3 formats, that was one format that Dhoni least enjoyed.
As a batter, what are Dhoni's best innings in Test? I can think of
There
the
is
double
quick fire
century
double 100.
against
I thought he
Australia.
played some incredibly brave innings in England when
That
he
is
knew
true.
he
Yeah,
lacked
yeah.
the technique.
One in
he
couple
stepped
in
out. Yeah, he
2007,
just kept stepping out and taking it on the body.
to negate the
So
swing.
for me, Dhoni's contribution to India's
But then
Test
Pant, you can
success-
think of like 5
So Pant
absolutely
for me,
incredible innings.
Pant is overshadowed most Indian batters in the last 10
Yeah.
years, let alone wicketkeeper batters. Because if it wasn't for Pant, Dhoni walks in. Dhoni is
Yeah,
India's best keeper batter. Period.
And we're
there's
assuming
no
they-
left-hander here as well. So
And
I
we're
would
assuming
throw
this
Pant.
side will play against best 11s of other countries like Australia, England of the 21st century in this fantasy world.
Are you plugging
So you
the
could
next
be
episode of
you could be
lineup?
100 for 5.
That's a
right?
good pitch.
So I think anyway, 3 of us went for Pant. So unfortunately, we'll have to geo-target this video now only to Delhi, or maybe even that
Chennai-
won't be enough.
the
Just to
Chennai-
Gambhir's house.
The Chennai
We'll
people are
geo-target
very
it.
kind.
Huh?
They're very forgiving. They've forgiven me for 2018.
So we go Rishabh Pant at number 6. Now, actually, most of us agreed on the bowlers. Jadeja, Ronak had him at 12th man, but I mean,
had him at 12th.
depending on your combination, he goes
Yeah.
number 7 or number 12. Now, for some reason, Vishal Dixit did not pick Anil Kumble, which I don't
Yeah.
fully understand, but you'll tell us, I'm sure, why.
I think I was finding it tough to pick more than 2 spinners in this. Obviously,
Okay.
do you pick 3 spinners or 3 fast bowlers?
No, even I
That
picked
depends
two
on conditions a lot. And I was tempted to pick 3 fast bowlers more than 2 spinners. Also because you have all bases covered, in fact. When it
And
comes
then
to
you
spin.
had your 12th man as an extra batter.
Yeah. I had Laxman, who's in the 11th, so that topic is over for me.
That is true, actually. Now. So do we need a extra batter at number 12, or do we need bowlers?
What we can agree on is 2 spinners will make most teams, not 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it Jadeja and Ashwin or is it Kumble and Ashwin?
Kumble's numbers through the 21st century reached 74 matches, 355 wickets, average 31.
Yeah.
That average has a lot to do with the fact that remember the kind of runs that were scored
And
in
in
India.
a pre-DRS era,
Yeah, that
right,
too.
which is a big part of spinners' wickets and how the game changed for spin. Harbhajan Singh, I think, says it quite often that it changed the game for spinners because the way batters played you also changed. So I mean, you have to do a little bit of some hypothesis here and try and speculate how Kumble would have been in a completely different era. But I think it's fun.
The DRS
I'm not sure,
argument is balanced out though, because I mean, some of the memorable hat tricks of Indian cricket wouldn't have existed if DRS.
The hypothesis, I mean, it's a little tough to
Yeah, it is tough.
It's a
I'm
little
making
tough
this
to-
complicated.
to compare across eras, which you only had said, which I'm finding it tough to stay up with.
Yeah,
But
Which is why,
so-
brings me to my 11th player in this lineup. I would have picked Shami because he can bowl anywhere with any kind of ball, new, old, reverse swing, bouncers,
Unbelievable strike
yorkers.
rate.
So I think we've
All
actually
round.
all picked Shami. It's
I
just
had
a question of combination. I mean, even I had Shami as a 12th man because it really depends on where you're playing. If you're playing in India, you're playing 3 spinners. If you're playing away, you're probably playing 2 spinners and 3 seamers. In which case, Shami comes in for.
My first question is, if you're playing 2 spinners, who goes out? Because if it is 2 spinners, Jadeja's batting at number 7 is also an important reason
Yeah,
why he
Yeah. If you're
makes
playing
the
in
11.
Australia or England or something, I would want Jadeja and Ashwin / Kumble there. Again, it's all really dependent on
And
who the opposition
overseas
is.
India always play Jadeja over Ashwin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you could play
how do
Kumble,
you-
you
how
could
do
play
you keep
Kumble and
Jadeja?
Jadeja overseas.
Yeah.
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 Because there is a case for Ashwin.
So anyway, let's just.
impact
I
not
think we're
being
all
as much
basically
upside.
agreeing on the 2 bowlers who fit in here, which is Kumble and Shami, and it's just a question of.
It's a tie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
No,
a
if you're
question
picking
of
12,
condition.
life
Yeah.
is easy.
Yeah,
No
life is
doubt
easy.
about Zaheer Khan, no doubt about
Yeah.
Bumrah.
Yeah, there's no consideration for Harbhajan. Anybody? Or I think Ashwin is just ahead of him.
It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. Although Harbhajan has the more formidable overseas record,
Yeah.
which has to be said.
That's because Ashwin
not-
hardly plays overseas
Yeah.
these days.
Correct, but that's also with reason. I mean,
Yeah, because of how.
whatever captain selection, whatever it may be, and Harbhajan did last a test of time. He played a sizable amount overseas and had a decent enough impact. So there's that. But yeah, Ashwin, you can't ignore 500 wickets and 6 centuries now after the Bangladesh
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That can't be ignored, I'm afraid.
So anyway, after an awful lot of agreeing, we've reached our final 12. You have Sehwag and Rahul Dravid opening. Somebody will have to make that call to Dravid and tell him that he's going to open.
It's okay. They only share India's greatest opening partnership of all time. Second greatest.
That's true. Laxman, Tendulkar, Kohli, Rishabh Pant as keeper, Ravindra, Jadeja, R. Ashwin and Kumble as your 3 spinners, and your 3 fast bowlers are Bumrah, Zaheer Khan and Mohammed Shami.
Captain?
That is the question.
Dhoni,
I
of
have a
course.
very simple non-playing captain. I think, can I just do this, or are there any arguments?
I mean, we have no choice now.
Huh? I mean, you have Dravid. It's Dravid or Kohli, basically, as captain.
To me, even in an 11 which had Dhoni, Kohli is the better Indian Test captain.
By numbers, I would agree, but like Kohli himself said a lot of times when he was the captain,
That all of
he
them
got-
say about Dhoni whenever
No,
they
no, no,
have to
no.
talk
I'm
to-
not talking about Kohli's quote on Dhoni. He says, used to say a number of times, I got lucky with the kind of bowling attack I had.
Yeah.
That's
With
true.
the pace bowling attack, especially he had. That is my only reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a close call between Kohli and Dravid. But I wouldn't mind Kumble as captain too.
That is actually a good point also.
Because Kumble's great value came very late in his career in a tough time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
But if he's not a certainty, but I think Kumble would manage this team quite well. Although,
the present Indian coach agrees with
yeah,
That's the next episode.
yeah. This would be an interesting team to be in the dugout.
Anyway, we've gone with Kohli as captain, but there are other options. We let them decide among themselves.
Are
who
we
should
picking the
captain.
coach?
No, we're not.
It's not Chappell? Okay.
Shastri.
So that's our best Indian 11 of the century.